Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 20. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, I promise we won't go 2 hours last time, but I think you said the reception was awesome, which I'm really glad to hear. I figured people liked what we had to say and didn't mind us going long, but probably a little shortened version of the podcast today.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's going to be the case as well, too. Obviously, we'll have to do our picks and all, but we unfortunately don't have a 49ers beat writer for this week. Reached out to about 3 or 4 of them, and like I said in that last show, I've had problems in the past trying to get some of those guys lined up, and I guess it's good that the Steelers only play them, once every 4 years or so, because it was like pulling teeth trying to get one lined up last time. Couldn't get that same one lined up this time, and reached out, like I said, to like 3 other ones, and not even the courtesy to return the emails here on them. So I guess they got, I guess things are good, and they don't need the business out here on the West Coast here or in San Francisco area. But regardless, we've both done our homework on the 49ers, so we'll try to play both sides of it today.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I know you reached out to several people, so what are you going to do? It happens. But moving on to some Steelers news before we talk 49ers a little later in the show. Injury report for Thursday came out. I think it's still pretty much as expected. Dave, do you want to run through the list?
Obviously we have Roosevelt Nix, who's already long been ruled out since Tuesday by Mike Tomlin with that knee injury. He did not practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Also failing to practice so far this week have been Joe Hayden with a shoulder, linebacker Vince Williams with a hamstring, and outside linebacker Anthony Chicklow with a foot. If I were to take my guess right now based on the things Hayden has said, and based on really he played through the injury last week, I'm guessing Hayden will be fine by Friday or by Sunday and play against the 49ers. And I'm going to guess that Vince with that hamstring and Chicklow with that foot, which Mike Tomlin said after that game on Sunday, called it plantar fasciitis. I'm guessing those 2 guys are going to be down this week. So, you have another special teamer down and Chicklow already down, a guy in Nix, special team ace that's down for you as well too. So not good news on that front. Mark Barron, I'm guessing this is going to start being a weekly thing with him. It looks like he's going to be getting those veteran days off on Thursday, not injury related, so he should be back to work on Friday there. And I guess the only other real news, Bud Dupree with an ankle was added to the injury report on Thursday after being limited. That's probably worth watching there. Don't know if he did that during practice or if that was something coming out of Wednesday practice. Regardless, we should get a good idea when it comes to him later today. With Chicklow already looking like he's down, you don't need Dupree banged up, that's for sure, because really you're already kind of thin at the outside linebacker position there. I'm guessing Jaron Elliott might be up this week if Chicklow can't go, so that'll be worth kind of hashing out over the weekend as well. Practicing fully, some good news on the injury report on Thursday. Practicing fully were Vance McDonald with a back and James Conner with that knee. Vance McDonald had been limited on Wednesday. It just seems like he just got a little twinge going on. Hopefully that's all that is. If you remember back to, I think it was the first game last season, he missed, and I think it was with a back issue. But hopefully there's nothing there, especially with his injury history since arriving in Pittsburgh. And James Conner, with that knee, he's been talking ever since the game pretty much ended on Sunday that his plans were to get back to practice and then play against the 49ers. It looks like he's on course for that as well, too. So as you really kind of alluded to before you turn it over to me, kind of pretty much as expected. I would say that maybe Bud Dupree was the biggest surprise so far this week. And once again, hopefully he'll be able to go on Friday.
Yeah, we'll get final injury report status for today. I'm with you. Hayden's going to play. Vince should miss. Good to see Connor full. We'll see what happens with Dupree. I think he'll be okay, but we'll see with that. So, 49ers, they're going to be without Joe Staley and Tevin Coleman. I know we'll talk about them more in depth a little bit later. So they're missing a couple key guys as well.
Yeah, and really the key one I think on this Friday, Alex, to watch is D Ford, right? I mean, we already know Staley had a broken fibula in that game this past weekend against the Bengals, and he's of course long been ruled out, and they're going to have a rookie 6th-round rookie 6th-round tackle make a start at left tackle. So that's definitely something to watch, especially if Bud Dupree plays this week. Which obviously with that ankle, we'll have to watch to see what happens with him on Friday. He should be able to go. That I'm not sure. Is that going to be your key? What do you call them every week?
The matchup to watch.
And not only matchup to watch, but
the X factor.
Yeah, the X factor. I'm not sure if he's going to be your X factor. If a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to be your X factor, so I can't wait to see that. But D Ford, definitely a guy to watch on Friday here. Now, guys not practicing for him so far this week. Obviously, D Ford, running back Tevin Coleman, doesn't look like he's going to be able to go. They're probably not even going to miss him, to be honest with you. Jalen Hurd, probably not going to miss him either, wide receiver with a back. And Trent Taylor, another wide receiver with a foot. I'm guessing, and that's dangerous to do, but like I said, half of these guys are not going to miss. So obviously missed Joe Staley with him not being able to play, and D Ford should he not be able to play with a quadricep. But those guys, Coleman, Ford, Hurd, Staley, and Taylor are all likely to be inactive as we sit here on Thursday. Limited in practice on Thursday for the 49ers were Nick Bosa with an ankle, Jimmy Ward with a hand. I think Jimmy Ward's coming off of finger surgery or whatnot. So even though he's practicing, back practicing, I think he's kind of questionable at this point. And Jacoski Tart, their safety, is a guy that also started off not practicing this week, is back limited. He'll probably be a full go today. I'm expecting him to be able to suit up and play on Sunday. So, once again, the big names that might be out for them this week are D Ford and Joe Staley.
Normally, I would have someone like Dupree as my X factor, but considering the history of him facing really poor, undrafted rookie tackles and just not having much success, I mean, he's had to have had the easiest slate of matchups like the last 2 years for a guy facing the left tackle, because he's had guys like Desmond Harrison, and I'm trying to think who else he had last year. But he's had some really easy matchups. So while he's going against a rookie and Justin School, this week, and he should win, I don't know. We've had that conversation before, and it hasn't gone particularly well. So, I'm just kind of hoping for anything at this point.
Yeah. Would you even give thought of trying to switch sides a little bit this week or no?
I honestly had that in mind because their right tackle, and I know we're jumping into 49ers talk, I'll pull back in a second, but their right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, is one of the better tackles in the league, off to a really good start. So I would much prefer Watt on, obviously, the rookie, and then let Dupree just deal with McGlinchey, because I want Watt to make sure he's getting a lot of pressure.
That crossed my mind, and that's why I brought it up. I mean, obviously, Watt's probably better, from on the side, and he's more used to being on the side that he is on. But,
right.
Man, to have kind of licking your chops to have I think his name is Justin Schooley?
School, yeah, Skule.
SKULE, starting over there on the left side, and really didn't get overly. I didn't think overly. Look, the 49ers had a pretty decent lead by the time he got in there. There was a lot of pounding the football, if you will, and as we'll talk a little bit here when we get to the 49ers anyway, usually Garoppolo does a good job of staying on schedule and getting that ball out. So maybe it's not a big deal. Look, if they don't get them in 3rd and long, it's not going to matter who lines up on what side, right? When it comes to the 49ers, because they're very much an on-schedule offense, if you will. And if you let them stay on schedule, they're just going to run, they're going to run downhill at you most of the day, or sideline to side, stretch you sideline to sideline, and then try to pop you up over the top and things. We'll talk about that in a little bit there. But it did cross my mind to put Watt on that right side. I'll be interested to see if the Steelers feel the same way.
Well, you remember how this team talked about, once they made the switch last year, that once everyone got comfortable, they were going to flip guys and give different matchups, and they've just literally never done that. This would be a good week to start.
It would be a good week to start. I'm with you.
It's weird that they haven't flipped those guys, because they do help create matchups. Tackles got to prepare for both guys. You give different looks. I mean, Watt and Dupree are a bit different skill set wise, but the team has just never flipped them since they moved them from Watt to the left side, but Dupree to the right side.
And look, make no mistake, as bad as this defense has been in the first couple of weeks, that front of theirs is good, even with Bud Dupree in it. I mean, this is a good Steelers front. It's just, that's what makes it probably so painful to a lot of Steeler fans so far. The loss of Roethlisberger and all is tough. We get that, but man, the front seven for the most part is not awful. You look at, and then now you got all these first rounders on here. And added another one in Minkah Fitzpatrick. Obviously, you scratching your head thinking, man, this defense should be a lot better than what it is. And if there was ever a week, I think to maybe get back on schedule, maybe it's this week.
Yeah, when you have so many first rounders, I hope they would be better than not awful. And it's a good front seven, and hopefully it'll be a good unit overall. But I want to jump to Mason Rudolph, because he talked to the media. Ben usually would talk. The starting quarterback talks during the week for in locker room interview. And I got to say, Dave, I know it doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. And if Rudolph goes out there and has a lame duck performance and throws 4 picks, it's not going to matter. But I love Mason Rudolph. This dude just carries himself in a great way. He's comfortable. He's poised. He's got a little bit of humor to him, too. He's kind of able to take it in stride. Just listening to that interview yesterday, about a 9-minute interview with the local media, I thought it was just a great way he carries himself, and I thought it was really impressive.
Probably the single best interview we've heard all off season. I think.
I don't have him ranked, but yeah, it was great. I mean, you can see why this team felt so confident in him. And again, he's got to do it on the field, but just kind of the way he carries himself, I think, is super impressive for, how old is he? 23? I mean, he's a young dude.
Look, I mean, he's got that. Look, he looks like a quarterback. He talks like a quarterback. He's got a little bit of that cockiness in him.
Like a Varsity Blues.
Mox. Most definitely, and that's the thing that runs. Look, I mean, if you go back and obviously I've spent a lot of time with him or studying him.
Well, you've been with him? I don't know. You've probably been in the Oklahoma State room. You've watched so much tape.
I don't know. I tell you, I watched so much tape, I became a fan of theirs. I got to admit, kind of like, I don't know how you became a Idaho Vandals fan. God bless you.
Roll potato.
Roll potato. But I tell you, I really, favorite teams growing up college-wise, and I've always been more of a pro fan than I've been a college fan. Obviously, was a huge Pitt fan, Penn State fan growing up.
You were both?
Yeah, I was actually both,
cool.
unless the two played each other.
Well, then who'd you root for?
Obviously Pitt, man.
Okay, well then you were a Pitt fan.
Yeah.
That's the answer. Okay.
So, but would root for both, and even my growing up on into my late teens and 20s. One of my good friends was actually from the Western PA area, and was a Penn State fan as well too. So obviously some good times there when those two teams would play each other quite a bit as well too. So you would think growing up down south like I did, it'd be either Florida or Florida State or Alabama and Auburn. Man, I can't stand. I got my fill of all 4 of those teams. growing up, where I grew up at, and was never a fan. I was always a fan of whoever played one of those four teams more than anything. But getting kind of back to it is Pitt hasn't had anything to kind of root for in I don't know, since I was about 30, I guess. It's been quite a while since that has happened. But like I said, did so much study on Oklahoma State, obviously following that draft with James Washington and Mason Rudolph, that, man, I became a fan. I find myself checking the box scores, and if they're on TV, I watch them on Saturdays as well, too. But long story short, spent a lot of time studying him and, obviously watching his interviews. And to me, he hasn't changed one bit, as far as the kind of his demeanor off the field goes. We just haven't seen it because the camera hasn't been on his face. And then on top of it, he's, being that number 3 guy initially. Now the number 2 guy is more, speak when you're spoken to, kind of thing. But now the camera's on him, and I thought he handled himself real well in that nearly 10-minute interview in the Steelers locker room. Still kind of that humble guy and knows his place with the team, but also, said to the point, look, I'm not changing. The guys wouldn't respect me if I changed, and not who I am at this point. So he does come off of, and this is no slight to Ben Roethlisberger. I'm sure it'll be taken that way. No slight to Ben Roethlisberger, but I've always viewed Mason as being a very diligent film rat, if you will. That he really tries to dedicate a lot of time into the film room. And I don't know how much time Ben does or doesn't spend, but there have been times over the years where, more than once, where I've thought, man, I wonder if Ben put in enough time in the film room this kind of past week. And once again, that's not a slight. It's just the differences in the two. And to hear Randy Fichtner talk yesterday about how hard Mason has worked, not only on the field but off the field as well too. Now we'll see. Now it all looks good from 30,000 feet, off the field. Now let's see what he can do on the field.
Absolutely. But yeah, I just thought it was good. He talked about playing with a chip on his shoulder. I think we have the quote yesterday, quote, "I've always had a chip." That's kind of how I was raised. I love football and I'm passionate about it. I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to try to be a catalyst for this offense, for this team. That's who I've always been, and I'm not going to change that. So saying all the right things, been impressive. Matthew had the eagle eye saying that Rudolph's going to, assuming good health, going to start against all 5 teams that passed him up in the 2018 draft. So
that's just something else to put in the Dave Bryan movie script, isn't it?
you keep writing that script. I'm waiting for this thing to turn for the better, though.
Boy, my kind of scripts get Grammys.
Yeah, your kind of scripts right now is kind of like 2012. Like it's a disaster. Like I got disaster after disaster. I'm waiting for the sun to shine. So let me know when that comes up.
And a Grammy is for a music. For a song.
Yeah. I'll let that one slide.
All right. Yeah. And look, and that was great on Matthew's part because look, you got the who do you have here? The Ravens. You have the Browns, obviously. You have the Jets. And
the Bills.
And the Bills, right?
And I think, is there another one? I'm not sure. I lost count. But yeah,
was there? No, the Cardinals had. Oh, Miami and Rosen, right? Was that?
Well, Miami Cardinals drafted Rosen, and then Miami traded for Rosen.
Right, but I mean, he was one of the guys, right? What?
Yeah, drafted by the Cardinals. So I guess so that'd be the 15 was Arizona because you're playing the Cardinals.
All right, so most definitely, when he gets into this thing, look, it all starts this week, right? I mean, we've said a few times now. You still kind of hate to get in that mode where you're saying must win, but man, the percentages.
This is a must win. Yeah. I don't think you can argue it any other way. You're 0-3.
Really, how many of these next 3 are must win, right?
The next 3 games?
Because does it matter where you have if they were to go 2-3, if they were to lose this week and then win their next 2 at 2-3, is there any what's the attitude?
Well, because that 3rd one's against Baltimore, right? Goes right.
Right.
Baltimore
Look,
next week.
if you lose this week and go 0-3, but yet you win, let's say you win your next three, Cincinnati Bengals and Chargers, all two divisional games and then obviously a conference game, doesn't matter. Or would we look back and say, well, maybe that wasn't a must-win after all? I know it's the next game, and you got to look at it the next game. And yes, the percentage is yada yada. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to distance myself from this must-win narrative.
I get what you're saying, but the idea and the odds of a team that would be hypothetically 0-3 should they lose to San Francisco, then rattling off 3 straight wins, I mean, those odds are slim as well. So I get what you're saying, but my mindset is if they lose this, they got no shot.
Just win.
Or very little shot.
Just win.
All right, and they should win. I mean, they're capable of winning. I know we'll talk about that more. But yeah, Rudolph, I was really impressed with overall. To turn to the coordinators with Butler and
Speaking, good time to kind of segue there. I mean, you and I talked quite a bit about Rudolph the other day. You went a little bit deeper into the film for a quick video on the site. What did you find that we didn't talk about the other day about Rudolph?
I think it was most of what we talked about because I had done enough film study prior to Wednesday's podcast, so I just kind of applied the things I talked about more in depth for the video breakdown that I did. But it was more the same thing. I like the poise. The ball placement needed some work downfield. Needs to speed up a little bit outside the structure of the play, reading things post-snap, but good pre-snap reads. Shows some mobility, buying time, good ball security. Just the only thing that bothers me with the ball security is that when he knows he's getting hit, he does a good job to secure the football. But man, he sometimes when he's running around, he carries that football like high and away or low and away and off the hip, and it's a little bit of a fumble risk. So that makes me a little nervous. I don't want him getting blindsided or navigating the pocket and getting bumped and losing the football. So that's because the 49ers, they get after the football. They can take it away. They can strip sack you. So a little worried about that.
Yeah, look, just keep it. Try, and he talked about this yesterday as well too during his press conference there. He obviously doesn't have the the go ahead to kind of go off script, if you will. He'll have his checks and all. I'm sure he'll have his kind of stuff, but just keep it simple. Do the stuff that plays within his wheelhouse here to start with. We talked a little bit about some RPOs and stuff like that. Obviously I'd like to see some up tempo, but I'm not sure how much you get. You want to just get him in some sort of rhythm. And the quick, hopefully this offense can come out and maybe move downhill a little bit. The sooner that you get him into kind of a play speed rhythm and comfortable with what he's doing, then you can start building off of that. But I wouldn't go anything crazy. You're obviously going to try to establish the run some early, and I hate that term. But what I mean by that is you're going to have to try to establish run success early. How's that? A better way to phrase it. And then because in today's NFL, a lot of people are trying to draw comparisons right now, right? And to 2004, this is, just do what Ben did. This all sets up perfectly to be a 2004 Ben. Ben came in that third game of the season and look, this, how many years ago it's been since 2004, Alex?
Been a long time.
Been 15 years.
15 years. Yeah.
And how much has the game changed in the last 15 years?
Yeah, I'm not interested in trying to compare Mason to anyone. I just want Rudolph to play well and play his game, and then everything else will take care of itself.
Ben Roethlisberger had a you had at that time, you could have running games that power running games. The Steelers had one of the better ones of them where you could run downhill and then build everything kind of off of that. And then obviously they had a defense that made it where it was more like, just don't mess this up, Ben. Just don't turn the football over and we're good kind of thing. You don't have that now. And in today's NFL, with the run and with it being a pass happy league, you got to have a quarterback too that's got to be able to push the football down the field. And Roethlisberger was kind of hit or miss in that area, kind of right out of the chute, right? Early interception, I think, on the first pass, didn't he? Or second pass or something like that, when he came in that game against Baltimore here. So a lot
of an interception on the second pass against Baltimore.
Was it?
I mean, I'm asking. I
I'm
don't
trying
know.
to remember.
But it's funny because Rudolph threw an interception on his second pass in football. That would be kind of funny.
Stop drawing comparisons. I told you not to draw comparisons.
I like stats of the weird. All right, now you got me looking this up.
I'm looking it up too. I've broken that game down so many damn times in the past as well too. I should know this by now. Let's see, what was it? He came in. When did he come in?
Yeah, it was his second throw.
Okay, I was right. Okay, not bad for the old man.
Well, no, and it's just crazy that Rudolph had his picked on the second throw. The first pass was incomplete. Rudolph's first pass was incomplete, and then his next pass was picked.
Stop drawing comparisons.
Well, maybe I think it just means that, of course, Mason is destined to be the next Ben Roethlisberger.
Absolutely. Boy, we could only be so lucky. But look,
Right.
Keep the mistakes at the minimum here, and he's going to make no mistake about it. He's going to make mistakes as we move forward here.
Mm-hmm.
But the more stuff that you can do that kind of runs into his wheelhouse, the better. And having that half of football underneath him from last week is good. I mean, that's a good place to start with him. So I'm as excited one can be for not having Ben Roethlisberger for the rest of the season, which nobody, I think, should be excited about. I'm as excited as I could possibly be because now you get a good look at Mason Rudolph. And once again, I went back and looked at some of the things. You remember that the 7 things that Bill Parcells has that checklist and has had that checklist, I think, since 2009 or whatnot. 7 things that he looks for in kind of drafting a quarterback, and as many boxes as you can get that guy checked as possible. And then obviously the later that you can draft him, obviously the better as well too. Remember, Rudolph had all of those boxes checked, and here they are.
Yeah. And
a lot of them might seem insignificant, but look, Bill Parcells, when he speaks on this kind of stuff, you kind of you listen, and I'm always a fan of rehashing that quote of his that, in the first round, you either get a quarterback, you get a guy that can protect the quarterback, or you get a guy that can get after the quarterback. There. Now, here is his list of 7 things when it comes to evaluating quarterback. Be a 3-year starter. Obviously, Rudolph did that. Be a senior in college. Rudolph actually did that. Graduate from college. He actually did that. Start 30 games. He did that. Win 23 games. He did that. Post a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He did that. A career completion rate of 60% of hires. So those might not look like, boy, anybody could put that together, Dave. But, I mean, when Bill Parcells, now obviously the tape speaks volumes and always should. But I just found that interesting to go back and dig that. One thing that I have not been able to find yet, and I've got it, it's out there, but it's the actual game between the Jets and the Dolphins where they have the interview with Parcells saying that. And at some point, I'm going to get that bad boy out of the underground and then put that on the site for everybody to hear.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good baseline to work with. I think that Rudolph checks all those boxes, and to go with what Randy Fichtner was talking about Rudolph, to kind of go back to the work ethic, because Rudolph's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk. And Fichtner said, quote, he is a worker, an absolute worker. He works 24/7. Sometimes I have to work hard to have a joke with him because he is just that serious, but that is a good thing, and I will work on my jokes. I'm not that good at them. Randy, a little self-deprecating. I appreciate that. But he's that kind of guy. Fichtner went on to say he's that worker. It matters to him. He cares. He listens as a soldier, and it's a confident with Ben. So kind of just goes on to talk about Rudolph's work ethic. So I think when you combine his intelligence, his poise, and obviously the work ethic and tape study, the things he's put in his rookie year and before Ben got hurt this year, over in training camp, got a lot of reps this summer. Hopefully that pays off for him.
Mason also talked about getting in, kind of more of a routine as well now too, and him getting more reps. Obviously, he feels will help him because he talked about, I think last year about he even looks forward to the walkthroughs more this year. He said because of the quality of the reps that he's getting, he's not making as many mistakes and all. So, look, don't tell me about the labor pain. Show me the baby.
Yep, and guys got to step up. For sure. He's got to get help too. Receivers have to step up and rally. There's no question about that. So
He's got a good offensive line. Obviously you wish the overall quality of the receivers will be a little bit better, but, I think they're going to make a point. He's going to have a very familiar face out there in James Washington. I think that will help him to some degree moving forward here. And, you got Deontay Johnson that kind of took a step forward, if you will, even though he only had one catch in that game, and it did follow what I view kind of a crucial drop, coming over a middle from Roethlisberger. But, he's obviously going to have to start taking a bigger step now in this offense. Going to be interesting to see what they do with Dante Moncrief this week, right? Even if he dresses, I don't know. Dante's not going to be a guy that helps you on special teams either. So if you don't have him in the game plan, maybe you just sit him down.
I'd be fine with that. I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
Maybe it gives you an opportunity to get Gentry dressed, right? And start getting him maybe a little bit of snaps. What did you think about Xavier Grimble's play in that game last week?
Nondescript. The one target he had, he sat down. He probably shouldn't have sat down where he sat down, but then he moved and that caused the incompletion. He kind of slid to his left as he was showing his numbers to Rudolph, and that's created the incompletion. Blocking was I know you pointed out the one play in the podcast where he lost that block. It was, again, nondescript.
What did you think about Zach Banner when he was in the game?
I thought it was good. The holding call seemed weird. I didn't think he held him.
I didn't think he did either. Yeah. I think Matthew's got something coming up for that, or out now, right?
Yeah, but he's a big body. He knows how to use it. He'll play this week, too. 49ers are a 4-3 team. That's why Banner played last week, because Seattle was a 4-3 team. You don't want tight ends on these big defensive ends. You don't want a tight end blocking this week, Eric Armstead. So Banner's going to probably play another 10 to 15 snaps to be that 6th offensive lineman to take on some of this D ends. So we'll see more of that Banner this week, I'm sure.
Are you fine with it? It's too bad they don't have Roosevelt Nix for this game, right?
They weren't using the money was healthy. So.
Right. I mean, you'd like to be able to see them do a little bit more 21-22 stuff, but they're gonna use some more heavy sets, like you said, in this one as well too. You'll see Banner, as long as this thing doesn't get out of hand, you'll probably see Banner 10 to 12 snaps. You'll probably see Grimble and McDonald on the field together for another 8 to 10 snaps, right?
Yep.
And then obviously you and I would like to see as much 11 personnel as possible. How much empty do you want to see?
I don't want this offense to be in a shell. I don't have exact numbers to this, but I want Rudolph to play his game and to take some chances and be able to move the football through the air. I don't feel like you have to be a 3-yard in a cloud of dust kind of game. You drafted Rudolph for a reason. You thought it was a first-round pick in the air to bend for a reason. Let's go out there and see it. So I don't think you're going to win this game by nickel and diming your way down the field. I think you need at least 1 or 2 big chunk plays, 40-plus yard opportunities to maybe, shorten up a drive and get yourself in the red zone immediately, or maybe a big touchdown that's 50-plus yards. So I don't know what exactly the number would be, but I want to see them still go 11 personnel, even some 4 receiver sets, go empty, spread the field out. Sure, I don't think you need to radically change things, even with Rudolph under center.
And they claim that they won't, right?
And I believe him. I know that's partially lip service, but I don't think you're going to see a dramatic change because you just can't. I mean, you can't dramatically change this offense mid-season. You're going to see a couple different things, more play actions, some different favorite play calls of Rudolph, but I don't think you're going to, what could you do to radically change this thing and play a different style of offense?
I mean, obviously the thing that stuck out was the play action last week. What I say was 5 of 7 for 50-something yards and the touchdown. You saw him under center. That's something we don't see a lot of. Nearly any with Roethlisberger, and really that's not something that Rudolph did a lot in college either.
Yeah, well, no college quarterbacks do these days.
But I mean, he seems comfortable in it, in doing it. So I would expect to probably see 10, 12, 13 snaps of that this week. Something that from either injuries. Score or whatever in these first 2 games, we have not seen that pony backfield yet.
We saw it in week 1.
Huh?
We saw it in week 1, 2 snaps.
2 snaps. What I'm saying
is, Peter wanted to run it more.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm getting to. Could this be the week that we see a little bit more of it?
Yeah, I think you're going to be creative with different stuff out there. If you keep the score close and competitive, then you get to see more of it. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
I think this could be the week, you'll see with both those guys stay healthy, that you could see that. I think it's a perfect opportunity. Look, I mean, you've been sitting on it. I mean, how many plays have they not run that they probably thought they were going to run in these first two games using it that they haven't been able to? And that, I guess that's the good part of the way kind of things have gone, is you've got a lot of things probably that you've worked on that you have not shown yet at this point offensively.
Right. But it also, with Rudolph, you're kind of taking it back to basics for the short term, just kind of getting him reps, doing the basic stuff before you add too much. But yeah, I'm not opposed to the idea. Samuels look good. He's definitely looks quicker this year, a little bit more burst.
Yeah. Look, I mean, mix them up, and you don't want to put the whole burden on Connor this week. But I think Connor can have some success in this game if you get him a block on some of them pools here. So I'd like to see a little bit of power.
Yep, and speaking of that, I want to flip to the defense and what Keith Butler talked about, and he was obviously very excited to have Minkah Fitzpatrick in the fold, and just another first round pick for him. And again, if he can't make this work, then that's on him and not the players.
Hallelujah. Isn't that what he said?
That's what he said. Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are going to be screaming, hallelujah, we want Butler gone if he can't make no mistake about it now. I mean, you run out of dadgum excuses at this point. They face a good offense here in the San Francisco 49ers. But, man, you got a rookie inside linebacker now on his third game. You've got in addition to Minkah Fitzpatrick that I hear them say they're going to keep him anchored down at free safety, and that'll probably be easy to pick out on the film, but you still got to move him around a little bit. True or false?
True.
All right, so you need to do that with him. I mean, we need a much better performance out of this defense this week. Even with the new kid back there.
Yeah, regardless of the new faces, you got to communicate this thing well, and we'll touch on it more when we talk about the 49ers offense. But the 49ers offense wants to create communication issues. They want to create misdirection and have a lot of layers and use one play to work off another. They throw a lot at you. They know their offense. They know their identity, and they will run a lot of play action, a lot of misdirection, a lot of kind of college-y stuff. Kyle Shanahan schemes it up well. So I think the Steelers, to be blunt, are at a big schematic and coaching disadvantage this week when you look at the 49ers offense versus the Steelers defense.
Chess and checkers, you trying to say, or what?
So it's more like chess and Connect 4 kind of deal. Just been rough.
Here's a little something for you, Alex. In the Steelers' first two games of the season, the defense has allowed 12 explosive plays of 20 yards. Wow. 20 yards or longer. 5 of those went for touchdowns. Kind of feels back to, what was it, 2 seasons ago where they gave up all those explosive plays at the start of the season, and several of them ended in the end zone, and then they kind of got it straightened out in the second half of the season there. Way too many of these things way too early here.
That's 20 of runner pass. That's just all plays of 20 plus yards.
Right, that's all. And here, like I said, 12 explosive plays of 20 yards or longer. 5 of those have gone for touchdowns. 10 of those 12 explosive plays were passes, and 4 of those went for touchdowns. And then obviously you've had the 2 runs, right? And one of those went for a touchdown this past week here. So I hate to keep boiling it down to the talk stat at times, but man, that's a powerful, powerful stat. If the Steelers wouldn't have given up half of these explosive plays, maybe they're more in. Maybe they come away with a victory. Against the Seahawks here, because obviously the deep the second half run to, who was it, Penny for the touchdown.
37 yards.
Look, okay, you gave up a good 12 yards initially, and I think Butler said you got to do a better job of running that thing down from behind and at least saving some field to protect there. That was one touchdown, and then the unfortunate who was it? Beat Edmonds there. Metcalf beat Edmonds out of the slot on the other one. They just did a great job of setting it up. They knew what kind of cover one defense the Steelers were going to be, in that instance there, and they executed. Now, maybe we'll see somebody different, like maybe a Fitzpatrick, in the slots next time somebody kind of tries to do some of that. But there's two explosive plays, both ended in the end zone on you right there, and you have to wonder, well, if those don't end up in the end zone, what happens?
And while the Steelers are one of the league's worst currently in giving up explosive plays, 49ers tied for 8th in the NFL in offensive explosive plays with 10. 3 of those have gone for touchdowns. So they know how to create big plays in the run and pass game.
And I think 8 came just this past weekend against the Bengals.
But they put up 41, so it wouldn't surprise me that they had some big chunk plays.
So, what the NFL has changed quite a bit defensively, but the old things that Dick LeBeau used to say have not. Stop the run, tackle the catch, don't give up the big play.
Yep, and so let's talk about this 49ers team, let's start with their offense. And again, I think they're layered, I think they're well coached, they're disciplined, they give you a lot of different looks, they're a lot to handle horizontally and vertically, but it really starts with that rushing attack with Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert. Those guys, I think, create really well. Even if it's not there initially, they're going to break tackles and make guys miss. Tackling's got to be on the point. Run fit's got to be on point this week because again, it's like Seattle. You got to start with shutting down that rushing attack, but that's a lot easier said than done.
They're not afraid to mix in that motion either, and kind of that fake jets, get that wide receiver on the move and get you leaning and going one way. And I think that's the thing that sticks out the most when you look at them offensively. You could tell that Shanahan's been watching a little bit about what the Rams have been doing too, right? With the kind of things that he's doing. They early on, what stuck out right out of the chute against the game with the Bengals is they kind of lulled them to sleep. They tried to get that Bengals defense worrying about going sideline to sideline first. They ran quite a bit right out of the chute, and then once they got you thinking way too much of not getting yourself, falling for that kind of opened up some of those run gaps a little bit for them to run some power, to run some misdirection runs with those couple of running backs, and they had success there. And then off of that run, they leaked. They do that old leak out play, and how great was that design on the one to Marquise Goodwin right out of the chute. Looks like it's going to be a run formation there. Goodwin does a good job, kind of line up where normally a tight end would line up there. Does a great job of selling that block and just leaks out behind the defense wide open, and that's. You want to start talking about explosive plays. That was number one for them, and it went for a touchdown.
Yep, 30 yards to Goodwin. So, yeah, again, they throw a lot at you. They love play action. They want to use the run game to set that up. They'll hit Kittle. They'll run these little banana routes where you're getting somebody either coming across the field on the over route or hit the fullback in a flat. They got a good one in Kyle Juszczyk. So they use their jet motion a lot. They can give it. Usually if they do give the jet, it's going to be to the field. If it's to the boundary, it's probably a fake, but they'll throw it to the boundary. They faked a jet last week, I think, that hit Deebo Samuel on a little screen play. So they love the screen game. They love the quick game. And they use all that to set up the long play action game. So, you got to be detail oriented. You got to be aware. You got to be able to read your keys and just have that spatial awareness because the 49ers are going to kind of throw every little look at you. And if you screw up once, they got the speed and the talent to hit you for big plays.
And, George Kittle only had, 3 catches for 54 yards in that game. I don't think he got his first catch until the second half.
He has 2 touchdowns this year, but they've both been called back by other penalties.
Yeah,
he's due. You talk about a guy. I'm going to use your phrase here. He's due for a touchdown.
The 3 receiving touchdowns that they had last week. We already talked about the one to Goodwin. The Samuel one. I'm trying to recall how that Samuel one happened. The Mostert one was a nicely. Boy, you want to talk about knowing what the defense is going to do situationally there. Boy, they had that Bengals defense pegged there in that first half. They knew once they crossed right around that 50-yard line that they were probably going to see that nickel blitz off the side. They had a slip screen called right into the teeth of that into that nickel blitz. And that was boom, another explosive play, 39 yards. Now obviously the tackling was bad, past I think like 15, bad angle, bad tackling there, but that was probably going to be an explosive play anyway. It just ended up being a home run. So they home runned them for 38 and 39 right out of shoot. And once again, that slip screen. You could not have dialed up a better play call for what came. It's almost like they stole the sign and knew. I had to go back and watch that 3 times, thinking, man, how did he know the nickel blitz was coming? In that situation, because it didn't seem like there was any audible in there or anything.
Yeah, I mean, again, big plays. They got 6 players with at least 1 reception of 30-plus yards. They got 13 runs at 10-plus yards. That's second in the NFL. It's a big play machine. With Garoppolo healthy, he's playing well. Their run game's varied. They run power. They run this counter trade. They run inside zone. They run tosses. They attack you kind of in every which way. So they know who they are as an offense. And the Steelers arguably don't know who they are as a defense right now. And on paper, that's bad news for Pittsburgh.
And look, how many times have we had to scout Juszczyk over the years?
Yeah, spell Juszczyk, yeah. But, they again, like the Patriots, they use a fullback a lot. Now Juszczyk isn't a traditional fullback; he can catch and do a lot of things for you. But they use him a lot more than any team in the NFL.
And they'll go empty on you too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They'll line that running back up outside as well too. That Samuel is as advertised, I think, right?
I was a huge fan of Deebo Samuel coming out, my favorite receiver, and he's looking the part.
So scary, and as long as the biggest mistake Garoppolo made in that game against Cincinnati was against that cover 3 look, and normally it's a play that you've seen. I think the Artie Burns get burned on. Kind of they try to draw you in up underneath there and expect that the outside cornerback won't sink. To the third. William Jackson III respected he didn't fall for that underneath junk there and then sank. And I don't think Garoppolo expected him to sink in there, and it made for Garoppolo just throwing up kind of a duck, if you will, and William Jackson plucked it out of the air there. So you're talking about a core. I've been a Garoppolo fan. Since he's gone over to the 49ers there. I know he had a extremely rough kind of preseason there with him, but he looks like he's in a rhythm right now, and you got to get him out of that rhythm somehow. You got to stop him on the early downs, stop that running game, and get him in the third and long situations, because they will put him underneath center quite a bit. They will put a lot of heavy, they will do a lot of passing out of the heavy looks with them, and why wouldn't you? When we got a tight end like Kittle, and they're not afraid to go up over the top on your butt either with a speed. Goodwin is such a good, probably underrated deep threat in the NFL. He's
an Olympic track athlete. I mean, he's got legit 4.3 speed.
Oh shit speed.
Yeah, and Samuel's fast, and this offense is it's just a really good offense. I'm trying to pull up the number because I was curious. I figured they were going to finish high here on 1st and 10 this year. San Francisco 6th in the NFL, averaging 7.3 yards per play on every 1st and 10. So that puts them in 2nd and 3. So they're a team that stays on script extremely well. You got to get them off that script, get them out of rhythm early. Otherwise, they're going to just march up and down the field.
Did it surprise you a little bit when you turned their film on?
It did in a sense. Well, it did and it didn't. I had actually the 49ers as kind of a weird sleeper team this year, but just knowing that they had a healthy quarterback and they had Kyle Shanahan, you knew their offense is going to be kind of a well-oiled machine. And honestly, it reminds me a lot of New England, even right down to, I don't know if you saw, I think in the Bengals game last week that Dante Pettis threw that throwback to Mostert, the way that Edelman and James White, this double pass play. So they're just, it reminds me a lot of what the Patriots do, except that the 49ers can use Garoppolo with more mobility and be able to boot and stuff like that the Patriots normally don't do. But so the 49ers took an old Patriots quarterback and are kind of running a similar attack.
I was a little bit surprised by the success in the run game more than anything, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I mean they're from unlikely sources. Matt Breida, who's I think is a UDFA, and Raheem Mostert, who's been in the league for like 6 years now, hasn't done anything, but is now like really shining out there in San Fran.
And they brought that they promoted that kid Wilson from the practice squad, and he kind of took their goal line looks and all. He looked good, and they will make no mistake about it though. They're going to miss Joe Staley. You got to make them pay for not having, like we said at the top of the show. You got to make them pay for not having Joe Staley in this thing.
Yeah, Bud Dupree's got to step up. Watt versus McGlinchey, their right tackle, is going to be a 5-star matchup. But like we mentioned, I think if you're the Steelers, you got to move Watt around a little bit. You can't put Watt on McGlinchey the whole game. I mean, Watt's obviously a great player and he can win, but like let's put him on the 6th-round rookie, not the former 1st-round pick in McGlinchey. So hopefully they start moving those guys around.
Devin Bush is going to have a good game. He's going to have 10, 11, 12 tackles, and I'm not talking about 10 yards past the line of scrimmage either.
Mm-hmm. The defense has to communicate well, and that's something that Butler continues to talk about. I mean, it's annoying at this point, but you can't have coverage busts against this team. They will make you pay. They got too many good athletes. They got too many guys that can break tackles. I mean, run against tackle, run fits, communication, no coverage busts. You got to be very detail-oriented to beat these guys. And
you got a pretty good – I mean, they took care of a pretty decent Bengals secondary,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, put up 41 on these guys.
This past week, how many? Let's see. We already covered a Garoppolo to Mostert touchdown off the slip screen. I'm trying to recall that Deebo Samuel 39-yard score. I watched that last night. The Goodwin home run for 38 yards. I mean, they had touchdowns, Alex. 39, 39, 38. Big plays. And then they also had another Garoppolo to Samuel for 38 yards in that one. Pass to Kittle. I think that was one with Kittle coming across the formation for 36 yards. And then several, like I said, 8 explosive plays. And you give up 8 explosive plays, and if you're not answering those 8 explosive plays or getting turnovers, you're going to lose the game.
Yeah, Samuel caught a play-action corner route in the end zone on a goal line play for his first touchdown.
Okay, I'm not
in the early third quarter. Make it 31-10. So, yeah, I mean, and watch out for the shovel pass, too. 3rd and 1. They ran like the Steelers do, a little shovel pass to George Kittle. And they want to get him the ball early and often. They're a leader in targets. They'll run screen game. They'll run quick game. They'll do those little shovel passes. So, obviously, Kittle's a huge threat at the catch point and then after the catch.
That guy is so fun to watch, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like a Vance McDonald, but better.
yeah, like
better blocker.
Like twice a Vance McDonald in my book. Yeah. All right, other side of the ball, right?
Yeah, the defense has been stingy. I know it hasn't been the most high potent offenses in Tampa Bay and Cincinnati, but held them to 17 points per game. They're 7 sacks, which is near the top in football. They got 4 interceptions, which is tied for 2nd in football. They're 9th in yards per game allowed, 8th in points per game allowed, 7th in yards per carry allowed. Have yet to give up a rushing touchdown. Their only weakness is on 3rd down. So I got a train coming. You tell us about the 49ers attack here.
4-man front. They don't do really a lot of it. To me, they don't do a lot of exotic stuff. They almost say, here are 4. Try to stop them. I didn't see a ton of stunts or twists or anything like that. Not a lot of blitzing in the game. Now, obviously, the way they've been able to get up in games, I think, has helped kind of dictate that. Their linebacker, you want to talk about another linebacker? Kind of, we watched a lot of bit. The kid out of what was he? BYU.
BYU, yeah, Fred Warner.
Fred Warner, boy, that guy can cover some ground, right? They also had another linebacker, the one who had the interception in that game. Do you remember?
Quan Alexander.
Oh, Quan, yeah.
Big money for him this offseason.
He did a great job of running with Eifert. So these guys can cover a lot of ground, not only sideline to sideline, but east and west. I didn't personally see a lot of blitzing. Maybe I don't know what you saw. Look, you got Richard Sherman on one side that can, big body you to death. I don't think he's going to travel, in this game. So that should give you an opportunity maybe to move Juju around, quite a bit in this thing. Can a guy like James Washington or Johnny Holton get on top of a guy like Richard Sherman? That's going to be a lot to ask, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to your question, no, I didn't see really any blitzing. They did run one nickel blitz to the field on second and third and medium. I think they were both second and 5 and third and 5. But yeah, like you said, they're a 4-man rush team. They want to drop 7 into coverage or run some games and stunts up front. But they put a
not
heavy
many though, right? Did you see many?
Not a lot, a little bit on third down, some D tackles crossing, some TE stunts, but they have some pretty heavy draft picks, and the guys like Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner are kind of similar to Pittsburgh. They got some high pedigree guys up front, and they want to let those guys, just get after it.
They got that guy named Bosa too. He's pretty good.
Oh yeah, not too bad. Good start. He's still got the injury. I mean, he's gonna play. Is that what you're reading on that?
It looks like he's going. It looks like he's headed that way, Alex.
Yeah.
And,
that ankle that keeps bugging him.
Yeah, I think so. And then Ford, I think would be the biggest loss for them. Obviously, if as we talked at the top of the show, not looking like he's going to play there, but. Man, if you can keep these guys kind of at bay a little bit early, I mean they can be run on. Boy, the Bengals offense I don't know what you thought watching that game. Their offensive line just horrible. A lot of penalties the Bengals had. A couple big plays of theirs got called back because of offensive penalties and all too in there. So you gotta try to at least run these guys, run some power at them and all. You gotta make them earn, use that play action with them. I think we'll see a little bit more play action in this game as well too. I'm not sure Richard Sherman is the guy that you want to try to attack over the top, but I mean, the rest of their secondary, I think they can be had, at the levels. They play, they like to mix in some zone cover 3 and some man. Obviously, I think they're more apt to run man on the later downs.
Yep. With the run game, I'm running a lot of duo and ace blocks, double team blocks, not letting these guys gap shoot and penetrate. If you kind of start just doing standard base blocks and some kind of weak combo blocks, these guys are going to be able to break through. Again, I'm using a lot of the banner, the 6 offensive tackle, because I need him to go against these defensive ends. I can't put Vance McDonald or Grimble or whoever on Eric Armstead, who's like 6'7", 290. Just not a matchup you're going to win. Bengals, Bucks have tried it. They've both failed. Play action, obviously you're going to see it, but it does worry me because the 49ers have gotten pressure off of play action. Sometimes when you try to solo hat, these linemen, they read it well. It creates some one-on-one matchups, some kind of difficult spots for the linemen to be in trying to pass protect. So, I want to see play action, but I want to be very, very careful how I do it. I want to make sure I'm selling it well because I've seen pressure in both games when offenses have tried to use play action against this 49ers front.
You got to keep Rudolph out of as many third and long situations as possible.
Sure. I mean, that's going to be true of any game, though, the rest of the season.
I mean, you can't make him have to work too terribly hard in these 3rd and 7s and 3rd and whatevers,
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's when he's going to be more apt to push the ball and try to force it where it doesn't belong. I think you can use the screen game effectively this week as well, too. You just don't want to have him sit back there too terribly long,
Yeah, use the screen game early. Slow down that pass rush. Get him thinking. Get him running.
And man, the quicker that you can have, the run success, you don't have to run a lot, but man, if you run better, and as I mentioned, a lot of people are down on, and I get it. I mean, a lot of people, he's only had 21 carries so far. A lot of people will look at that. It worked out so perfectly last night with that Leonard Fournette game. And the Jaguars. You look at Leonard Fournette's stats last night, you think, man, 4.4 yards per carry. Woohoo! Jacksonville run game is on point, man. You go look at it again, 3 of his 15 carries, only 3 of 15 carries were successful runs. And 60-something of his 60-something yards came on 1 carry. Okay, so stop looking at these running backs at yards per carry and get with it and look at the success rates with these running backs. Right now Connor's like not a large sample size, but right at about 48% run success rate. The closer you can get that to 50, the better. Obviously, we would like to see the Steelers get in a situation where they're running more in the fourth quarter, correct?
Yeah, that means it's a close game where they have the lead, which would be a nice change of pace.
Right. So try to get your runs in early. Be successful at it. Use play action. Not obviously not going to use play action all the time, but use it diligently and get success with it. Freeze those linebackers, because if you're not you got to beat Alexander and Fred Warner in this game. You can't let these guys will take over the game if you let them.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to call my shot for one prediction here. Bengals, it's not exactly the same what the Steelers did, but they ran a post-wheel concept for 47 yards last week. I think they're going to hit James Washington on that double move that will speed out, convert to the vertical route that he caught against, the Bengals last year. I think it's going to be Mason to Washington on that same concept for a big 40-plus yard play.
Against Sherman?
I don't know who the corner is going to be. Ideally not Sherman, but maybe. I mean, just depending on what the formation looks like on that play. But I think it's going to be that little out and up.
You don't think he's going to travel, do you?
I'm not sure.
He normally stays on. I mean, I know you go back a couple of years ago when he was with the Seahawks, and he did a good job, I think, moving around on Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. But I haven't really seen the last few years of him really moving from that left side.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but it's hard to tell just 2 weeks into the season. Yeah, Tampa Bay had two good receivers, so you kind of just felt like we'll just play aside, and because you're going to face a good receiver no matter what. Tyler Boyd does move around a lot. I'm not sure exactly how they handled that, but I'm not sure. But like I said, I just think you can hit him with that double move, that little out and up to Washington.
Johnny Holton going to have a home run in this one.
They've been trying. He's been just coming up a little short in warning track power these first two games with Johnny Holton.
Warning track power, there you go. Not a bad defense though, and once again they are at their best when they can pin their ears back.
Yep, all 7 sacks this year have come from that defensive line. So they are they knew who they are defensively too. They want to get pressure with that front four. They've invested a lot of draft capital and money into, and a guy like D Ford. And that's their plan of attack.
And they're
opportunistic. They take advantage of poorly thrown balls and tip passes. I mean, they got 4 picks this year, 2 by linebackers. If you make a mistake, they're going to make it pay.
And they have allowed 17 points in each of the first 2 games, and I think even one of those a pick 6 by Hargraves.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Garoppolo had a bad throw to the left side that got jumped.
Right, and
come back.
So
right.
I mean, they haven't given up a lot of scores.
No, again, zero rushing touchdowns allowed in 2 games. I think one of 9 teams that have done that.
All right, it sounds like we've watched a little bit of tape.
Yeah, I hope so. But it'll be a tough matchup, and then not even factoring in the whole West Coast lack of success, West Coast stuff, which does not bode well for the Steelers under Tomlin.
1-5 in the Pacific time zone under Mike Tomlin, as we recap, I think, in that last show. The one win against San Diego was that Monday night game, was the Michael Vick. Hey, they're one in our boy Daniel, he's something, isn't he?
Yeah, it's good stat.
Daniel, the Steelers are 1-0 in the Pacific time zone under Tomlin with a quarterback wearing the number 2. Hey, you got to try to spin it however you can, right?
Yeah.
You got to give these people some hope.
Yeah, and then Le'Veon Bell. I was just thinking about Le'Veon Bell, that video of him crying on the sideline in the Monday night game.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's been weird.
All right, what'd you think about the Thursday night game? What do you think about Gardner Minshew?
I like him. I mean, it was mostly background noise to me. I kind of had it on and then just was kind of watching. It wasn't a super close game, but yeah, Minshew seems like it's not just beginner's luck. There's something there with him.
He's kind of got that Mason Rudolph demeanor too, right?
Yeah, kind of the happy-go-lucky, but serious when he needs to be. I mean, Mason's not going to rock the stash in the 80s kind of style that Minshew might have. But yeah, they're kind of cut from a similar cloth.
All right, where to, Alex?
I think we're going to go to our picks next for the weekend in the Steelers game. But before we do that, Dave, tell us about our friends over at MyBookie.
Absolutely, I will. My favorite, MyBookie. If you found $100 on the street, Alex, would you pick it up or keep on walking? Of course you'd stop and you'd take the money. So why do you keep picking winners and not betting on them? That's why I go to MyBookie, Alex. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay when you win. Let's face it, where you're betting at is just as important as who you're betting on. I wouldn't be telling you guys to bet with MyBookie if I didn't use them and I didn't think they were the best. Do the smart thing. If you're going to bet this football season, do it at MyBookie. Did you know you could bet on games after kickoff? If by the second half it looks like your bet is going to lose, you can always just take the other side. If you're the kind of guy or gal like me that likes to bet a little and win a lot, try a parlay. If all your picks come in, you multiply your winnings. And no matter how you bet, the NFL season is the best time of the year to do it. College football season as well. Join now, right now. And MyBookie will double your first deposit. You have to use promo code TERRIBLE. That's terrible. You'll see where to enter promo code when you go to mybookie.ag for your first time sign up, people. And look, I've been giving you, Alex, I've been giving people free money every Thursday.
Yeah, you were spot on.
I have been giving people free money. So go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code TERRIBLE to activate the offer. That's promo code TERRIBLE. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. And I got paid last night. Took the Jaguars plus the 2 and the money line straight up there. And I believe you had the Titans minus 2 in that game as well, too. So with that, I guess we should get to our picks this week, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's see what we have here. Pull up mybookie.ag. We got the Denver Broncos at the Green Bay Packers. Alex, the Packers are laying 7.5 at home against the Broncos and the Joe Flaccos.
Give me Green Bay. Just Denver. Denver has no sacks this year. With Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, they've gotten very little pressure. Very surprising to me, Green Bay in this one.
And that Green Bay defense a little bit better, and I think than what maybe people thought they were going to be initially here. Isn't Cortland Sutton a little bit banged up ahead of this one as well too?
Yeah.
I'm with you on this one. Give me Green Bay lay the 7.5 on this one. Detroit Lions at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles at home laying 6. Alex.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Philadelphia here to bounce back in this one.
I think I think Philadelphia wins this game, but I think Detroit keeps it within a field goal here. So give me the Lions plus the 6 on the road against Philly. Boy, we're gonna find out what Baltimore is and is not this week, right? I mean, we've already talked about Baltimore's first 2 wins were against who? Arizona and Miami. That's not exactly that doesn't actually look great on the resume right now. But Lamar Jackson has looked more than a wide receiver or a running back at this point. He really has been on point. That Marquise Brown is fun to watch here. This should be an interesting game, a good measuring stick, I think, for the Baltimore Ravens and that defense specifically. Ravens on the road, Alex, against the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 6.5.
Oh, I'm going to say this will be a really good game. I'm going to say that Kansas City wins, Baltimore covers.
Wow. I'm going the opposite way from you. I think Kansas City blows them out. Blowout. Really? Yeah.
Is that because you think Kansas City's that good, or you think Baltimore's just kind of a bit of a fraud for those first 2 weeks against weak opponents?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Kansas City. Give me Kansas City to lay that 6.5. And if you're a Steelers fan, you want to talk about a perfect week to kind of get, this thing might, obviously some of the best laid plans, yada yada yada. But you got Baltimore at Kansas City. I mean, that you would think that's a winnable game for Kansas City. And then you got the Bengals that going to play the Bills. We'll get to that game next. And then you also have Cleveland hosting the Rams this week as well too. So the Steelers can somehow eke out a win. Man, maybe they can make up a full game on everybody here in the AFC North here. Speaking of the Bengals, at the Buffalo Bills, I've had to watch the Bengals the first 2 weeks doing some tape study and all. That offense does not look good, and the defense, outside of guys like William Jackson, don't look all that great either. Bills at home laying 6 against the Bengals.
Oh, yeah, the Bengals, a couple pieces, but just not putting the whole thing together. Again, Buffalo's defense is stingy. They don't allow big plays, and they're probably missing Devin Singletary. But they got a couple of receivers. John Brown's been a really good pickup for them, former Ravens. So give me Baltimore to win by a touchdown.
You mean Buffalo?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Buffalo to win by a touchdown.
Give me the Bengals to keep this one at least at least respectable here. So I think Buffalo wins this. I'm hoping Buffalo wins this, but give me Cincinnati plus the 6 points. Atlanta Falcons, what's going on there? Going to Indianapolis Colts. Colts laying 1 at home. This is a weird game.
Yeah. You pick it. I want to go second here because I'm still thinking.
Oh Lord, I won't be playing this one.
I'm with you.
That's my pick. My gut tells me not to take Matty Ice on the road for some reason here. Give me Indianapolis lay the 1. I think the Falcons lead this maybe going into the third quarter, and then they give it away, and the Colts win it on a last-second field goal.
For someone not picking this game, you got this whole thing drawn up pretty well. I'll be different. I'll go Atlanta. Just maybe then get that run game going with Freeman a little bit more. Julio's playing well. I'm not going to pick this one, but I'm going to go Atlanta.
See, that's part of my idiot servant coming in, you know. I have these visions, you know.
All right.
All right, moving right along. How about them Oakland Raiders at the Minnesota Vikings here? Vikings laying 9 at home. Is that too much? I mean, look, I know the Raiders have had some injuries or whatnot, you know, especially in that secondary there. Boy, just 9 seems like a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, to play Minnesota, you don't have to worry about secondary. You got to stop that run because Minnesota is running this like 1970. Like Alan Page should be playing D tackle for these guys with how just run heavy that they've been, but they've been really good at it. Dalvin Cook's been healthy and just on a tear. I'm gonna have Minnesota winning this one, but I will have Oakland covering because that 9 line's a little too large for me.
Yeah, I think that line's a little bit too large for me as well too. I'm with you, Alex. I think Minnesota wins at home, but I think Gruden gets a late push there, and they at least cover this. Give me the Raiders plus 9. It just seems like too big of a number. Holy smokes. The Sam Darnold-less New York Jets go into Foxborough to play the Patriots. This seems like one of these ones where why even play it, you know? Le'Veon, I mean, they're Luke Falk. I mean, come on. Starting at quarterback, this is not going to end well. The only question is what is 22.5? Will you take the 22.5 points?
Yeah, I thought Miami was going to cover last week on a similar line, and that looked good for about a quarter, and then it was 43-0 next time I saw the score. So I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I think New England blows them out, 30-0 type of game.
Man, 22.5 points is a lot of points, but I can't see where the Jets even score here.
Yeah.
So give me New England lay the 22.5. This is my stone cold lock of the century of the week. Patriots minus 22.5. Miami Dolphins at these guys are sucking. One of them sucking for you know who, and I don't know who the Jets are going to be. Jets season's about to be over before it even starts here. But Dallas, I mean, Miami's way ahead of them. They're holding my beer. They go to Dallas and 23. Alex, is 23 points enough for you to tempt you?
I don't know why I keep doing this. I think Miami does cover, starting Josh Rosen. I mean, they might have a little bit of a spark. They just can't keep getting blown out like this every single week, right? There's got to be at least 1 week where it's, under 20 points, right? Right?
I'm with you. If I'm going to lay that 22.5, I got to turn around and take some of these big points somewhere. So I think Dallas obviously wins this game. Something happens here, a late turnover or a bounce or something like that allows Miami to cover this one. So give me the plus 23 here. New York Giants at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Daniel Jones gets a start, right, in this one. 6.5. Buccaneers laying 6.5 at home against the Giants.
I'm still not in on this Bucs team. I think the Giants will have a spark with Daniel Jones. I mean, if he plays anything like he did in the preseason, this might be actually a good pick by David Gettleman. So I'm gonna have the Giants win this one and Daniel Jones debut.
I got Tampa being way too much for him. I like Chris Godwin, man, and I think Jameis hasn't been awful.
I don't know.
I mean, he's missed some throws for sure. Bruce will get him on a better track this week. Give me the Buccaneers to Give me the Buccaneers to blow the Giants out this one. All right, so I'm laying that 6.5. Carolina Panthers, you want to talk about a team? Do we know who's going to start at quarterback? Cam Newton's banged up in this
Kyle
one.
Allen, I think.
So going to be definitely fun to watch, see who plays in this one. The game in general, not probably going to be fun to watch. Arizona Cardinals even laying 2. That young kid quarterback threw for 400 yards?
Murray.
This past week, -2. Cardinals at home, -2 against the Panthers.
Cliff Kingsbury's been kind of weirdly conservative for kind of the background we thought he had coming out of Texas Tech. I'm going to go with Arizona, though, in this one with Kyle Allen, a quarterback for the Panthers.
I'm going to take Kyler Murray as well, too. Lay the 2 points at home against the Panthers here. New Orleans Saints minus Drew Brees. Boy, what a blow that was for them to obviously to lose him. The Saints go all the way up to Seattle there. Seahawks laying 5 at home against the Saints here.
I know Steelers Nation has no sympathy for Saints fans. At least they get their quarterback back at some point this year, unlike Pittsburgh. Give me Seattle by a touchdown, though. Going to Seattle without Brees. I mean, I like Teddy, but Seattle's going to win by a score.
I think Seattle takes it to them as well. So give me Seattle lay those points here. Where did I leave off here? Houston Texans go on the road, play the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers -3 in this one. That secondary, though, that Chargers secondary seems like it's set up to get picked apart here. But Chargers laying 3 at home.
Against 2, I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Chargers at home against the Texans.
The Chargers have had a really poor start. Give me Houston on this one. I don't feel great about it, but I think they can get some more big plays.
Wow. I don't know what to think about this game. Give me Phillip Rivers at home. Lay the 3 points here. Los Angeles Rams on the road. Are they going to have Aaron Donald going to make this one?
I haven't heard too much. I know he got injured last week. Is he really questionable?
Yeah, I think he's got some sort of a back issue. I think they think he's going to play through this, though. Okay. I'm not sure what you thought about the Browns against the Jets and all. Cleveland at home, underdog in this one. They're getting 3.5 against the Rams.
Yeah, give me the Rams. I mean, the Browns won handily, but I feel like if they hadn't played any team as lifeless as the Jets down to their third-string quarterback, it would have been a really close game and one they could have easily lost. So, give me the Rams in this one to win by a touchdown.
Give me the Rams offense in this one, and that's not even talking about son of bum being able to get after Baker Mayfield in this. I like the Rams in a blowing. What's the narrative going to be if the Rams blow out Cleveland in their own place here, and the Browns move to 1-2 on the season?
Yeah, it's going to be same old Browns.
Give me the Rams. Give me the Rams lay the 3.5 here. Cleveland can make a statement if they win this game, though, right?
Oh yeah. This is a good litmus test for this team.
All right, Chicago Bears on the Monday night game. Chicago Bears at the Washington Redskins. Redskins +4 at home.
Do not like this one. Give me the better defense. Give me Chicago.
This one scares me as well, too. I kind of have this one as a field goal game. You know what? I'm going to stick with that as well, too. Give me Washington. Give me Washington to pull the upset here, Alex. +4 at home. I'll take those 4 points there. That, of course, I think now brings us to the Pittsburgh Steelers at the San Francisco 49ers. 4:25 kickoff time here. You're probably not overly shocked at the line on this one here, especially without Ben Roethlisberger. You got a second-year quarterback in Mason Rudolph making his first career start. Steelers defense has not looked good at all first 2 weeks. 49ers at home, 6.5 points.
Dave, this one's tough. I think the Steelers can rally around Rudolph and show some improvement and be able to have an offense that feels less stagnant, but I just feel like the Steelers are at a coaching disadvantage here, especially Kyle Shanahan versus Keith Butler, like that Shanahan in a TKO. One other thing I wanted to note for the Steelers offense is they got to do more pre-snap motion. This team's 27th in pre-snap motions in the first 2 weeks. You got to give Rudolph some clues, be able to start reading man versus zone coverage and trying to get some information from the 49ers defense. But still, the 49ers defense has played well. They haven't given up a lot of big plays. They created a lot of big plays. That offense is so layered. I'm taking the 49ers on this one. Again, given the Steelers history on the West Coast, San Francisco wins 30-17.
Ooh.
I know it's gonna be painful.
Ooh, then Keith Butler. What happened? If that happens that way, what happens this next week?
I don't know. Let's pretend I'm right first, and we'll go from there.
I mean, seriously. Right. I mean, if you give up, and I'm assuming you're none of those points are coming off of pick sixes or anything.
I mean, I don't have that good of a crystal ball, but let's assume no.
Oh, Lord. I mean, you would have to seriously consider a move at defensive coordinator position once happened. Pardon my phone there.
Is Keith Butler calling you? Calling?
Yeah. Look.
It wants to be defensive coordinator, Dave. You could be a good.
No. I'd much rather watch this at my. You know what? Speaking of which, is there any when we get into like Wednesdays and Thursdays nights here? I mean, is there any better time of the week for guys like you and I to sit back and just indulge in that all 22? I mean, it's the best time of the week as far as I'm concerned. When sit back and watch it all 22. All right, my pick here. I can't be optimistic. There's no way. You got to show me here. The storyline's great. Mason looked fine in relief of Ben Roethlisberger. It's just a lot to ask to go out on the West Coast with that defense that the Steelers have right now against an offense that really is impressive on tape. They're going to have to take the ball away a couple times. They're going to have to get those short fields for Mason Rudolph. They're going to have to run good. There's so many. They're going to have tos. I sound like Keith Butler. What does he say? All that stuff. There's a lot of stuff I think that they're going to have to do right this week, and I'm not convinced they're going to be able to do this. I don't see them giving up as many points maybe as you do, but I actually have the Steelers covering this one, but just barely. So I have this one 23 for the 49ers, 17 for the Steelers. So give me the Steelers plus the 6.5 covering this. I just don't think I have them winning it though.
Yeah, I mean they could, but do you trust them to communicate and play a solid 60 minutes defensively against this 49ers offense with the big plays that they can create and the tackling that was shoddy last week? I mean, I just can't buy into it right now.
I cannot buy into it as well, too. There's a lot of our readers that can't buy into it either, Alex. So, or not readers. Well, I guess readers and listeners here. So, shall we get to a few of the listener emails?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do it.
How long are we running here?
I think we're about hour 20.
All right. Wow. Terrence Stone. Trading a first-round pick for Minka. David Alex, I generally do not like the Steelers trading high picks, but Minka Fitzpatrick trade makes sense to me. As a prospect, Minka reportedly has all the traits that the Steelers covet in a defensive back: size, speed, versatility, ball skills, IQ, and tape junkie. Nick Saban's reference to Minka as the best leader he's ever coached should give Steeler fans insight into what Minka might add to the team's locker room presence. He is less of a projection than many top defensive back prospects, as he has NFL experience under his belt and performed at the highest levels in college and won both the Thorpe and Bednarik awards. I pointed that out on the Twitter machine the other day. Only Charles Woodson and Patrick Peterson have both achieved the fact of winning both the Bednarik, the Chuck Bednarik and the Thorpe Award there. So one goes for the best defensive player, one for the best defensive back in college football. So that's some good company that Minka Fitzpatrick is in. We have seen the market for safeties blow up in the last year, and Sean Davis, while still unproven, will command a high financial commitment. The Minka acquisition addresses the defense's biggest needs this year with the loss of Davis as well as next year. Even if the team has a top 10 pick in 2020, in my opinion, there's no position of need that would help this team more than a high prospect at safety, as it is such a glaring weakness right now. If that position is ignored, the defense will surely continue to struggle. From what I've read, the current top prospect in this year's class is LSU's Grant Delpit. but he may not end up being as good a prospect as Minka, and he may also not be available to the Steelers. Isn't getting a great safety prospect the best move that the Steelers can make to help improve this team? Signed, Terry. Now, I think we kind of put it out there that we understand why the Steelers did what they did, right?
Yeah, I think we talked about all those things on Wednesday's show. The like I said, the criticism, the pass or fail of this trade or the grade that'll be given is just based off how high the Steelers will be picking, at least from a national media perspective. But yeah, I mean, I said this before, and you said this too, Dave, is that, had they not made this trade, and assuming that Sean Davis is gone after this year, then this team was going to be taking a safety high in the draft anyway. So you're just kind of approaching that and taking care of that, months ahead of time.
Yes, indeed. I mean, what do you buy in? There's a report floating out there from one of the one of the sports DJs, saying something to the effect that source said Dan Rooney would not have approved this trade.
I mean, Art Rooney did. That's all I care about right now. One, we don't know that, and two, who cares?
And who is the source? Who would the source be?
I don't know. I mean,
to me, it sounds like a made up.
I don't think it's made up. I just, it's all just water cooler talk. Who would have known? And every situation is different, and it doesn't matter.
I mean, look, I get why they did it. Would I personally maybe a Delta first? I've watched a lot of tape on him since. I mean, I like the kid, and I'm still not sure I would have given up a first. But I'm not going to take a shot at them for going after this here.
Yeah, everyone always yelled at Clover for not being aggressive, not making the big move. Now he does, and again, I don't necessarily love the deal, but I totally understand, and I want to put it in the correct context.
Did you want to, maybe before we close this thing out, I finally put the draft picks in order and all like that in a post the other day, since we didn't have those readily available the last show as well, too. We'll hit that at the end here. Christian Botch writes in, hello, Dave and Alex. With our bad start and Ben out for the season, I have a question that you might help me answer. This is really my first time as a Steelers fan. I felt the season is over. I felt that the season is over before it even starts. How can I and every other Steelers fan come to terms with the fact that the season might already be over? This is the first time I, as a fan, had the gruesome experience of having our quarterback out for the season, and I have a really tough time dealing with the season being over before it really begun. Should I and everybody else just try to look forward to the draft already, or should we cling to the hope that Mason can surprise us all and become the next backup turned superstar, even as tiny as that hope is? As long as I have been a fan, the Steelers have been relevant. They've been a relevant team that should get into the playoffs and be competitive. So it's really tough for me to see my beloved team be reduced to nothing but a side note with the injury to Ben. To summarize, can you guys pull me off the ledge and back into the living room? Thanks for answering my question. Your coverage of Steelers is second to none, and I cringe whenever other site or podcast say anything that is wrong, as you told me the right thing earlier. And Christian's in Denmark, Alex. How about that?
Hey, cool.
I get a kick and I kind of run, after this is over now, I'll run downstairs and tell my wife, well, I got another people. I'm very popular outside of the United States, and brag that way. Christian, here's the thing. And I think I just kind of hit on this one talking to Alex. Man, there's no better feeling. I love football. I love football, period. I love Steelers football, obviously, as well, too. Maybe use this opportunity to become more of a student of the game. Put yourself kind of outside your fandom here and watch the Steelers as if you were an analyst here. Get yourself the All-22 tape. Try to get into breaking down as best you can in your own eyes Mason Rudolph as a quarterback. Try to break down what the arrival of Minka Fitzpatrick. Try to get yourself use this opportunity to learn more about the game and what Randy Fichtner likes to do offensively, that kind of stuff. To be honest, it's hard for me and Alex to sit here and tell you, all right, they're going to go to the playoffs. They're going to win the Super Bowl. Look, you have guys out there like Bruce Gradkowski and and Merrill Hodge right now that are kind of towing that company line right now. We have one half of Mason Rudolph football to look at, and we have two full games of very unappealing defensive play for the Steelers. Hey, if they come out and they play well against the 49ers this week on both sides of the football and win this game, I don't know. Maybe Alex and I will sing a little bit. Maybe our tune will be more on key. But you got to show us here first. And everything that Alex and I have looked at the San Francisco game and what we've seen from the Steelers so far, and no slight against Mason Rudolph, tells us that we think the Steelers are going to lose this game. But I think, have I given them good tips here, Alex, or no?
Yeah, I think those are great tips. But I would say that if you don't have the time to invest to pull up the all-22, I would just say enjoy watching the young players that'll be part of this team for next year, where hopefully you can put the pieces together and then make that run. So a guy like James Washington, a guy like Devin Bush, just enjoy watching these young guys because their development this season is going to be really critical for the next 2 seasons. Let's say Ben plays 2 more years. So I would just enjoy that because even if the season is lost, there's still plenty to learn about this team and the individual players and how that's going to translate to next season. So if Bush plays well, Washington plays well, you're going to have a lot more hope for next year, even if this season turns out to be a bust.
This is still they have a lot of talent, a lot of pedigree on this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and remember, it's a long season. Just enjoy football, and it's a fun game to watch. You root for your team, and even if the season goes sideways, I mean, it's still exciting and fun to watch your team try to win. So just enjoy each game and forget about the long-term implications of it.
All right, from Nick writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, one of the talking Twitter heads stated that the Steelers schemed more open receivers in the second half of last week game when Mason came in. It's hard to know if that would have been the game plan if Ben was still in there, but with the offense's tendencies to start slow over the years, it got me wondering. Ben has a lot of involvement in game planning and the plays they run, but could that be holding Ben back? Is he the reason we don't see more plays like that ran in the second half? Could the offense be better if Ben was more of a passenger in it? Thanks for the excellent podcast, Nick. Look, Ben, make no mistake about it. I mean, Ben likes the easier reads, the better. He likes to sit. I think that's why he likes to be in the shotguns as much as he is. I don't know the answer for why they don't run as many switch routes and all. Maybe that they kind of ran. I think that's kind of what I think he's probably referring to. Maybe some of the things Andy Benoit had to say, and I like Andy Benoit, but what I found in the past with Andy Benoit is he'll get 12 plays into the game, and his analysis will go off of that, and then he doesn't go much further.
Yeah, I was trying to get a feel for it, and I don't know. I thought Wiener did some of the stuff where the concepts were good, some of it where I felt like it could have been better. It was a mixed bag, even with Rudolph in the game. The one throw to Deontay Johnson I talked about the last podcast was all verticals and 7-man protection against a 5-man rush, and didn't really give Rudolph much of a chance to hit any other horizontal route. But I don't know. We'll get a good feel for it this week. We'll see what the game plan is now that you have Rudolph in as the guy. Everyone knows he's the guy. He's working as the guy the entire week. Game plan's tailored around his game. We'll get a good feel for just how this offense is going to operate.
Look, they can win this game. They just have, they just can't expect Mason to do too much in this game. I don't think that's why the defense has to play well. I mean, from here on out, we got to see a much different defense. You got to give them the short field. Regardless if it was Ben in there or Mason Rudolph, because of the wide receiver and talent and all, you can't expect this team to do what it did last season, and that's traveling 75 yards down the field every time that they go out on the field. Mm-hmm. And they were going to have to – that was going to have to change this year regardless. Now, we've seen – look, they provided – the defense provided a short field last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need more of that, and you also need less of giving up those 12 explosive plays that 8 are ending, or however many, 5 ending in the end zone for touchdowns. If you can do that, then they're going to have a chance in this game against the 49ers. Agreed?
Yeah, agreed. But this offense has to sustain drives in the first half because they are tiring this defense out in the second half. They got to get some points, obviously. but just run a couple, get a couple first downs on an early drive. Let this defense be able to catch its breath, look at some tape, make adjustments instead of them just going right back out there 2 minutes later and just having to do it again and again against this 49ers team with as much athleticism as they have, as much play action as they have, as much as they can wear you down. This offense has to sustain a couple first half drives.
From Mark Chapman, how many pounds will Ben gain with rehab? LOL. Love you guys. Look forward to seeing our young players succeed. All right, that's more of a comment there. Questions on 0-2 starts from Cherie, right, saying, hey guys, thanks for all the content. Donated $100 today, only fair. Hey, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Most definitely. Steelers number one. Steelers 0-2 start and bad defensive performance came against two elite quarterbacks early in the season. Aren't general media discussions about how they lack roster talent a little premature? The team generally struggles under Tomlin out of the gate, and I don't think any team other than the Dolphins faced a tougher two-game start. Number two, the 0-2 teams don't make the playoff arguments are driving me nuts. It's self-selection of bad teams. A better way to do it would be what percent of teams that started 0-2 outperformed their expected win total Vegas line. That would at least control for all the truly awful teams that dilute that 11% multiple 0-16 to 4-12 teams. Anyway, thanks again. Hope mine gets read this week. Okay, we read it. You know what? And I don't know why she gets a bad rap, but that's Cynthia Friedland. I love math. And I love her. I think she does a great job with kind of her analytical, statistical. I think she really gets inside the numbers and kind of marries that with what teams have. She still has the Steelers at a 50% chance of making the playoffs. Okay, I'm with her. I'm right there with her. So I think Cherie makes a good point here. They did play Tom Brady to open. How surprised would you, regardless? Is it the how more so than the why that they're 0-2?
Yeah. Usually they should have beat Seattle. They had so many chances to do so. They beat themselves in so many different ways and put themselves in this big hole. And then for the Patriots game, I understand them losing, but I didn't see them losing by the margin that they lost.
So it's not so much that they're 0-2 as it's the how they're the 0-2.
Yeah, but the reality is 0-2 is a bad place to be, and you're picking them to lose against San Francisco, so that's 0-3, and the odds coming back from that are almost zero.
Right, but we don't matter here.
Well, sure, but you said you agree with her assessment that they have 50% chance of making the playoffs, but you have them losing in your prediction to 49ers, which
sure.
I mean, you still believe they'll have 50% odds of making the playoffs if they go 0-3?
Ask me on Monday.
All right, I will. I won't say they have 50% odds of making the playoffs.
Look, here's the thing, Alex. I can't logically pick them to win based on what we've seen on tape out of the 49ers so far and what we've seen specifically out of this defense so far. That said, this is a talented roster still on top of it. Okay, now obviously the quarterback is a huge handicap here. So, how much are we going to learn this week? I think we're going to learn quite a bit this week.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, so that's why I'm at the 50% right now. I know it kind of goes. It's kind of an unconventional way to self-talk your way there, and maybe it's a little bit of the homer bias slipping in there as well too. But and that happens to the best of us. Communication fix? ? Christopher Byam writes saying, Chris here. Hey Dave, I like to trade for a safety, and I think this is meant as a long-term solution to the communication problems. Boy, I hope it's just not one person coming in that's going to – I'll tell you that. You got more problems if it's just one person coming in. But anyway, that said, how many years has communication been an issue? Far too many that I want to remember, Chris. And I think Alex feels the same here. The Steelers move up in the draft to get an inside linebacker, the green dot, and trade a first to get a safety, primary, secondary communicator, in parentheses. I feel these moves are meant to address the communication and lack of splash. This move to get Minka also allows those two players to learn the system together this year. If the Steelers waited till next year to draft a safety, it would take at least halfway into next year to get to get them comfortable. I also don't think the Steelers would not have made either move if they didn't expect both players to play out a second contract. Well, I mean, that's obviously your hope. I think with these first-round picks, regardless, is to get them to a second contract. So they should have their primary defensive communicators for the next 5 to 6 years. Thoughts? Look, I think you have to. I still boil it down to this, Chris and listeners, is this was a player, and Keith Butler talked about this on Thursday. This was a player they liked a lot heading into the 2018 draft. They also were resigned to the fact that they weren't going to be able to draft him or move up that far to get him. Would we have seen this team move up 10 spots in 2018 to get Fitzpatrick had he gotten that close, Alex?
I don't know.
What did it end up being? 16, 17 spots, right?
Yeah, he was 11th overall. Maybe they tried to trade up. Who knows? I have no idea what happened.
But I think they went into that knowing that it was a player that they liked. They obviously needed a safety, and I that probably led to them reaching for Edmonds. But I think they have made it clear at this point, and it's always fun to go back and look at this in the review mirror as well too. They had everybody and their brother down at both those Alabama pro days there. I think they liked him. Now, did they also like the who was the linebacker?
Rashaan Evans.
Yeah, Rashaan Evans, possibly. But regardless, I think they like Minka. I think the opportunity to get him obviously came about these last few, on Monday. Once again, I wish they wouldn't have told me they did it just because Sean Davis was. For some reason, I have an issue with that. But regardless, I understand why they did it. They got a player that they like, that they think can help them now and later.
Yeah, those are all things we talked about on Wednesday, so I agree.
Let's see here. Who else do we have? Oh, Lord.
Maybe like one more.
All right, Bryce is back. Hey, guys, a lot going on. Bryce always got a lot going on this week. A few things to get both of you your thoughts on. I understand the logic of wanting to benefit from having a third quarterback on the practice squad to save an extra roster spot. I get it. Having said that, it is a no-brainer that Colin Kaepernick is a much better player than Paxton Lynch for the number 3 quarterback spot. He's got Super Bowl experience, Alex. Would be a veteran in that room and has Dobbs-like skills that would be nice for a number 3 quarterback to have. Definitely understand he would be rusty, but he would work that off in practice as he gets up to speed on the offense. I see no other option at the moment for the number 3 spot that would be more talented and experienced for the Steelers quarterback room. Makes a lot of sense from a football standpoint. Thoughts? Bryce, you're wrong. Did you not see the 2015-2016 film on Colin Kaepernick? Also, how do you like that media circus coming back into town? Again, that would follow Colin Kaepernick into town. Also, Colin does not have practice squad experience. How quickly
eligibility?
Eligibility. How many snaps do you really think Colin Kaepernick would get in practice outside of the scout team on top of it? Bryce, you are wrong. Colin Kaepernick was not a no-brainer choice for the Steelers. Go.
Yeah, the idea he was the only option is just kind of silly. They brought in Hodges. They promoted Hodges because he's experienced in the system. He's been with the team throughout camp, so he can step in because he is right now one play away, and he will be Sunday one play away from taking a snap. And then Lynch had practice squad eligibility, so they want to use that time to be able to evaluate his play without having to cut somebody on the 53 and take up a roster spot just to evaluate Paxton Lynch, something you couldn't do with Kaepernick. And it's really getting to this point where Kaepernick's been out of the league so long trying to bring him back and all that time missed, and he's gotten older. It just seems like it's not worth it at this point. So at one point, sure, you could use an argument to be made. He's talented enough at one point to play in the NFL and all that, but not at this point. We can't say 5 years from now sign Kaepernick. It's just it comes to a point where you're like, this guy's been out of the league so long that you just can't justify bringing him now and expect him to help you in any meaningful way.
Stop trying to save the season. Thinking you're going to save the season by bringing in a guy that's been out, especially a guy like Colin Kaepernick. It's silly, to be honest with you. I just look. Maybe a team will get. Didn't Denver try to give him a chance a couple years ago, and he didn't want to take a reduction in the salary or whatnot, and all. Why? And go watch his tape, man. Go watch his tape from the last 2 years. That's the way I boil this thing down. Is his tape from the final 2 years that he played? It was not good, Bryce. Number 2, Dave. Oh, he's coming after me. Dave, you said that thinking about Tuzar's skipper situation with the future in mind was a mistake, and the team's focus would be on now. But Alex took into account the future when assessing the value of the Minka trade, and I'm doing the same with Tuzar's situation. Bud is most likely out next year, and so is Chicolo, and Tuzar balled out in the preseason, so it would have been nice to have him on the roster for depth. That way next year you'd be looking at TJ with Ola, Tuzar, and probably your second-round draft pick being an edge. Thoughts? How much was Tuzar skipper going to play this year, Alex?
None.
Even if you kept him?
Yeah, probably. I mean, unless major injuries hit, which I know they're kind of beat up right now, but he wasn't going to play much.
All right, how much did you learn about Ola last year?
I only played 9 snaps last year, so I didn't learn about Ola last year.
Look, it sucks that you lost Tuzar skipper, that they lost Tuzar skipper, right? I mean, it does suck, but I mean, we're basing this off him and he looked great during the preseason. I broke down all of his tape. It looked really, really good. Okay, but how many times have we seen these kind of undrafted guys look really, really good? I get being mad about it. Nobody hates missing out on edge rushers than I do. But are we going to be talking about Tuzar skipper next year during the preseason?
Yeah. No, that's what I was going to say. I'm kind of done talking about that because it sucks, but you got to move on at some point. I can't talk about skipper in week 17 of the season saying, "Oh, you can play skipper in week 17." You got to move on. He's not on the team anymore. What happened. Maybe he circles back at some point. I don't know. He played 3 snaps against whoever they played last week. By the way, skipper did, so he did get a little bit of playing time.
Yeah, let's let this play out a little bit before we start crying about the milk being all over the table, right?
Yeah, and I like Ola. That was a really good find. They kept him, and I'm excited to see what Adane can do, especially if Chick misses this week, which he probably will.
And Ola might play a few more snaps, damn it, and he might look.
Yeah, well,
good.
He will play a lot. If he's the number 3, he's going to play probably about 20 snaps.
He looked good on one of the snaps that he played last week, backside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that tackle he had.
So hey, maybe you give Ola some shots at this rookie left tackle, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how tall is this left tackle.
I don't remember. I'll read one more while you look that up. I'll sneak one more in on you from Dennis Diaz.
He's 6'6", so yeah, Ola can get under him.
Early season's problems from Dennis Diaz. Does Tomlin have the Steelers prepared for the regular season each year? I would love to see what the facts are. Good idea for an article. Should the Steelers reevaluate how they organize their preseason camp? How are we going to analyze other than? I mean, what facts are you looking for, Dennis? I mean,
I don't know.
Does Tomlin have the Steelers prepared for the regular season each year, Alex? How would we go about? I would love to see the facts. What the facts are. Good idea for an article, ? Should the Steelers reevaluate how they organize their preseason camp? Alex, how should we answer that question?
I don't know. It'd be a mess of research. You have to see how teams started versus how they finished, and is any correlation there? Not worth doing. Could they reevaluate how they do camp? Sure, I'm sure they're always in that process of evaluating how they do things. But is it a loss because the team didn't play well? And can you cite that as a lack of preparedness issue? How can we possibly quantify that? I mean, it would be an impossible task.
Dennis, I think that's why I'm kind of, I don't want to say mocking your question here, but look, we're outsiders here. We're not there every day to see this. Alex is there every day during training camp. Yes, we see how they play and rotate these guys in, during the preseason and all like that. But a lot of teams do it. A lot of the way the Steelers do in that situation here. So it's next to impossible for us to kind of quantify. I think what you're asking for, other than looking at the record, right? And if you do that, okay, yeah, it hadn't been great.
But then that would assume that all losses are simply because your team's not prepared. And
right.
That's probably, you can't make that broad of an assumption.
He goes on to say, it seems to me that every year, people want, and I'm not meaning to point you out here, Dennis, but people want that. I want to be able to circle the one thing and get my torch and my pitchfork out and get rid of that one thing. Right?
Yeah.
They're wanting things to... They're wanting confirmation bias. Am I right?
I don't know exactly because I don't know what's in his head, but there is generally maybe not the easy answer of, they're just not prepared. Like that is a broad problem, but it's probably a multi-layered issue.
Okay, it seems to me that every year the Steelers have early season problems. Further, to the coach's credit, they seem to get better as the season goes on. That is good, but if you lose too many in the beginning of the season, you can be eliminated from the playoffs before you have a chance to be a good team. Thanks for the email, Dennis. Hope we addressed everything there for you. All right.
Real quick, I wanted the draft picks. I wanted to mention that.
Okay,
You brought it up. They're 2020 picks. You have to post about it. They have a 2nd round pick, 2 4th round picks, a 5th rounder, a 6th rounder, and a 7th rounder. So 2, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7 in 2020.
And how does that look on paper to you?
Different, very different, but and then that's not including the expected 3rd round comp from Le'Veon Bell. So. No 1st rounder, but they'll still have some picks to do a little damage with.
And the thing is, too, people need to understand that what was it, the 4th comes from Tennessee. Mm-hmm. People were all excited about that 4th, but I found out that that's via, according to the official NFL sheet, that's via Tennessee.
Yeah, it means lower than Miami's going to have. But Tennessee's not looking too hot, so it might not be that much lower in the end.
So start rooting for the Titans could be in the market for a quarterback, right?
Mariota's clearly not the answer.
Boy, Marcus Mariota goes down easier than...
I'm fill in the blank here.
Fill in the blank, Alex.
We're getting to 2 hours again.
All right. In the meantime, let's see. Enjoy the game this weekend. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email this show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Do you like what we do? Do you like us entertaining you for a couple hours at a time? It costs money to do that. You can go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar if you feel so inclined, if you feel we are worthy of such. Also, hey, a lot of people are doing the a lot of people are loving the ad-free subscription to SteelersDepot.com. That way you can help us, help yourself as well too. Make your viewing experience of the site that much better. Go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar as well. Thank you. A ton of great emails, people. We've been getting tons of them. Hope you don't. Everybody says, Dave, don't apologize for these long shows. All right, so I'm not. We'll be back on Monday breaking down. Hopefully we're breaking down a win, Alex. We'll see. Win, lose, draw, whatever. We'll be back on Monday. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.